Hey guys, this is Nathan, and welcome to the Gaming 4. Today in this Unturned Map Editor tutorial, I'll be showing you guys how to create your very own town. Now, I got this question probably 1 or 2 YouTube videos ago, just a couple days ago, and I'm going to be showing you guys just the basics. I can't go into all the detail about how to make your own town, but you know, the basics of what you need to do to start making your own town. So, first of all, a good way to start, something that I generally start with, is I generally get all the road pieces out that I'm going to use. So, I mean, there's many of them. If you type in road, and you can also narrow it down by selecting only large items, there's just a crap ton. So there's like quads, T's, there's always capped versions of them as well. Let's see, there's a lot of capped versions of this T. And let's see, there should be one more. I think I missed it. It should be a road turn. There we go. I did miss it. Okay, so I would start by putting them all out on the grass like this. And see how they're glitching through? I would select them all at once. And I would move them all up at the same time. Just a little bit so that they're not glitching through. And I really wouldn't actually place any of these again. So like, if you want to move, if you want to make a road over here, copy and paste and move with these arrows. And the reason you want to do that is so that you don't actually mess up the level of them. So they're all at currently the same level, and they're gonna match up in that way. So you never want to move the green arrow, just move the red and the blue to move them around from this point onwards. That's why it's always good to get all of them out at the start, even if you're not going to use all of them. So I will move these off to the side, and roads are really the best way to start your map because I don't know, there's just a good outline. You know where to put your houses on from there and stuff like that. So, okay, so this is not the T. We'll be using this one. So this is our basic road. I just copy pasted it. We're also probably going to use this one quite a bit. And road quad, that's the normal one. And road T, I'm pretty sure that's the normal one. Yep. Okay, so those are our basic pieces. We'll leave those out there just in case we want to do stuff with capping at the end, which we probably will. So the best way to start your town is figure out, you know, where you want to have it, and generally you're going to want to build it onto a flat area of the ground. So I'm just going to start pretty much have it right around here, and I'm going to start by placing this quad. Now obviously you're going to have to line these up, and so I'm just going to put a normal road line off of that. And this is where lining up gets pretty tricky, actually. Let's see. See, that's not even perfect. So you pretty much just have to mess around with this sort of thing till it's perfect, or as perfect as you're okay with. Really, whenever I'm building my maps, I always try to get it pretty close, but it really is almost impossible to get it perfect. So if you get it like this, you can still see there's a little bit of an edge there, and obviously it's not going to be quite perfect here as well, but that looks pretty dang good. I mean, you really can't tell much of a difference. Now, this is where the tricky part comes in that is actually really helpful if you understand how to do this. So we already have this one aligned, and we want to move it to the other side. We're going to make a copy, Control C, Control V, and we're going to use the snap movement. Right now it's set to increments of 1, and we're going to move it straight across to the other side. Now obviously this is a little off because that one was a little too far forward, and so we're going to have to move it forward ourselves. But this sort of practice does save a lot of time. The back and forth, like moving the red arrow, it's actually pretty good right now because it was fine over there. So this is actually a really good way of starting to make your maps. Now also it works going sideways as well. All you have to do is get it generally lined up, and you can use the snap rotate as well as the snap move, and you can line it up this way. Obviously it's not quite perfect, and we can mess with that ourselves a little bit. And that may be perfect. It looks pretty good anyway. So generally this is going to be how you want to expand your map. So I'm just going to build on a bit. I'm going to start incorporating in some edge pieces and some tees and stuff, and you know, I'll be back to you guys once I've built on it a little more. Okay guys, so I've built on a little more. I just wanted to show you this little situation that can happen when you're using the snap, rotate and snap move. Actually, as a note, 8 is a really good snap transform one, because it just is really good. I think also 16 would probably do well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, 8 moves it in quarters, 16 would move it in halves. So as you can see, we've gotten to a situation where we've got this little line right here. You know, it's not that noticeable, but you still might just want to like fix it. Well, the best way to do this is to actually, you can click on there like normal, but instead of just dragging straight forward like that, I'm gonna undo that. You can actually pull sideways and slightly forward. So I sort of found this out, and you can just nudge it forward just a tiny bit. So I sort of found this out because these snap transform, like these transform arrows and stuff, the way they work is they only move the item along that certain axis, and of course it's pretty self-explanatory. But pretty much if you just drag forward, you get like these big leaps and bounds, and they're not really huge, but like when you're trying to narrow stuff down by like what looks like hair's breadth, you know, like tiny little areas, you need to be able to do that really slowly and like really carefully. So instead of moving it forward like this, if I was like holding on to it, you instead move it like that. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to move it forward in like smaller increments than you'd normally be able to do. So that's what it's like instead of that. So I mean, you know, it's just a little trick that I found out that helps it out. So this is not really going to be a very well designed city, but you know, it'll do. I'm gonna add a little more, and I'll be back to you guys. Okay guys, so that's pretty much gonna be the general outline of our city or our town. It's obviously not very large, but you know, to keep this video short, that's what I'm gonna stick with. So the next step that you're gonna want to do after you generally outline what it's gonna be like in terms of the roads is you're gonna want to decide what you want in your town or city. So usually there's, you know, many different types. You can just think of a real life city that's near you to sort of guide what you want to have in your city. Often cities have some sort of house district, so we can look up some houses. I'll put some of those there off to the side. We can just add those, you know, at some point. And I generally like doing this. I like setting out everything I might want to use before I actually start building, so I can sort of visualize and arrange them as I go. So there's some houses, we'll probably use some of those. There's apartments, those are also good options. Those are definitely for more cities. Houses would probably be more towns, I guess, but you could do a mix of both. Then there's a crap ton of just vendors and shops, and I'm going to start listing through them. There is the post office, if it'll type for me. Post. There's the police station. There's the jail. That's optional, I guess. Let's think. Grocer. Gosh. Mechanic. Not what I meant to do. There we go. There's also medic, pretty much hospital. That's the bigger hospital. And there's another pharmacy thing. Let's see, there's a gas station. It's always a good one to have. especially if your town is gonna be, you know, having lots of cars in it and stuff. That's always a good one to have. Fast food. Maybe it's not. Oh, diner. Never mind. Multiple types of diners. Let's think. There's got to be some more. Let me think. There's clothes. Recently added those because I forgot about them to my Dusty map that I'm still working on. Botanist. Here we go. Fire station. Cafe. Those two. And if you're really having trouble like remembering the names, you can just narrow it down to large and you can just start scrolling through here. Oh, yep, I forgot one, the bank. It's always a good one to have. You know, and just keep looking through here because I guarantee you will forget some because there's just a crap ton of types. Let's see. No. I guess you could have a construction thing. It's not really a vendor or anything, but it's something you could have. Diner. Nope. Already got that. Oh, I almost forgot. Guns. That is definitely an important one. Hardware. Not as important, but good to have. It's good for diversity. Library. Also schools. Those are kind of optional, but you know, just depends on what you want to have inside your city. And that seems to be about it. So as you can see, there's a crap ton of stuff. Obviously way too much for me to put into this small town, but you know, we got like all these types of buildings, and you know, this is what's gonna make up like the meat of your town. And if it's a big city, I would consider having multiples of each of these, you know, depending on how large it is. But in general, you know, this is going to be what you fill most of your town with. Besides that, if it's also a city, you can have some office buildings. If I can type it, come on. I hate how buggy the typing is. Office buildings are pretty great. That's where you get into the sort of the skyscrapers. Those are the only, you know, sort of skyscraper buildings in this game at this point. And then there's like a couple other optional things like warehouse. So there's warehouses that you can also sort of have. Pretty optional, but yeah. So this is pretty much the whole spread of what we need to work with, you know, when arranging this town. I'm actually going to move it away because it'll start getting in the way a little bit. So we've got our templates and we got a lot of stuff to fill it with. So let us start moving stuff in. So pretty much, usually the layout of a city is usually compartmentalized in a bit, and there will be like a housing area. So maybe we'll make some houses over here. We'll make like a downtown area which will have a lot of these vendors and these shops and stuff, and then we'll have like a business area that'll be over here. Obviously I'm going to miniaturize some of this stuff, or like all of this stuff. So I'm only going to be putting, you know, a couple of each inside of this. You can usually put buildings sort of at an angle, you know, on corners. That's usually not too bad. I might put it at a little more of an angle. Get that 45-degree. Also, when moving around these large objects, it is useful to know how to use the global versus local coordinate system. So pretty much how that works is global is going to use the global X, Y, and Z coordinate system. So pretty much, you know, X is always going to be like this, and Y is always going to be like that, or vice versa. But then when we use the local coordinate system, when I select it, it's now going to be based off of this object. So now the X and Y is going to be that way and that way instead of this way and that way. And of course the up and down will also change as well. It's just I haven't rotated it in any special way yet. So let's put our offices in. We probably won't use them all, but we'll use a good amount. We'll use like 3 out of the 4. Also, something that is nice to do stylishly is have the buildings similar a distance away from the edge. So as you can see, like I'm trying to match up getting this a nice uniform distance. Same with that one, same with that one. I guess this one's a little far, but yeah, that's always a good thing to do, just because it helps the entire city look similar to each other. So let's get in a practitioner in here. It's nice that these city blocks are pretty standardized in size, so these fit in here well. There we go. Lift it up a bit so the floor doesn't have to glitch. Let's slap in a police office. That's always a good one to have. Also, when you're designing your towns, it is good. Obviously, I'm not thinking through the design of this very much, but it is good to think, you know, when people enter the town, what are they going to see first? That is always a good thing to know. So if you want to make it more difficult, maybe put the gas station, you know, at the edge of town or in the very middle of town, so that they have to run all the way through the zombie spawns, you know, to get to it. Or if you want to be, you know, make it a little easier, you could just make it so that they only have to run through like half the town, or put it at the very beginning so they can just pop in, get some gas, and leave. You know, so that's also something to consider when making your map. Let's arrange these nicely. Oops, not what I meant to do. So I'm just gonna go around and I'm just gonna organize this. I'll speed it up, and I will be back to you guys afterwards. Okay, so now I've sort of finished placing a lot of these buildings. I've placed a couple of houses, I guess only 3 over there. I didn't place any apartment buildings. I didn't think they're necessary, but you could easily replace, you know, one of these houses or one of those office buildings with an apartment building. And you could actually treat one of these apartment buildings or one of these offices like an apartment building. You could just put, like, you know, normal house stuff inside, especially with this smaller one. Of course, you got like those big open rooms though, so it really depends. Something else you guys should consider placing inside of your towns are parking lots and open spaces. So I'm actually going to leave this open, and I probably will just like place a tree there, and I could put some bushes there. That'll pretty much just provide your town with some natural areas. You obviously don't have to do this, but you know, it is, if you want to have, you know, a normal average town, it is good to have some sort of nature areas as sort of a natural, you know, landmark for the town. So the couple objects here that I'm using for this parking lot is actually, if you look up parking, so it's block parking. That's the blockish white one, and the line parking. I actually combined those. I don't know if Nelson meant them to be used separately, but I just combined those. I stick the block parking at the end of the line parking, and it looks really nice. You can also put, you know, fake cars that are destroyed in there, and that'll help, you know, design the city, make it look a little nicer, like it was inhabited at some point as well. So over here, something I was working on is a playground. I actually started working on it and I realized my mic was muted, and I was like, what the heck? So, you know, I was just displaying the types of items that you can have in there. There's the slide, roundabouts. So we got the jungle gym, slide, roundabout, swings. Let's see, swings. Darn this typing. I freaking hate it. As soon as I like press a letter, it like stops the typing. Swings, and I think those are the 4, you know, sort of things that you need. I don't think there's any other options in terms of items to make a park with. But you know, if you got like inhabitants inside of your town, I would suggest making some sort of park for them to play in. and it would be good if it was near the house section. You know, this is pretty much the basics. I actually left this area open. This is something else you can do. If you go to terrain, you can actually make this a drive-through. So as you notice, there's a window here, and I don't see many other builders that actually do this, but you can place this road material, and you can actually sort of simulate a drive-through right here. It actually worked out nicely because there's another road right here, but you know, now you can actually make use of this drive-through window, or you know, that is just a normal window. You can do whatever though. Also, there's an option to do that with fast food, which I placed right here. There is an actual drive-through window there as well. So just be creative when making the towns. You know, just remember the main parts. I would definitely start with the road though. It usually helps organize, you know, the whole creation of it. Depending on your type of town, you might want to have the houses. You definitely want to have some sort of shop area that has, you know, the basics. Probably the basics would be a police station, some sort of food place, guns if you want them, some sort of gas station. That is definitely very important because, you know, as cars become a really big form of transportation, you really want to have some sort of gas available to people. And also some sort of medic place, you know, either a practitioner, or over here I got a pharmacy, or there's a straight up hospital that I didn't use. So, you know, those are the main things to be aware of when creating a town. Obviously, be creative. What I've done right here is definitely not the best thing you could do, but you know, it's just one of those options, and it's also really quite small. So anyway guys, be creative with this, you know, make your own stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys now know the basics of, you know, where to start at least for creating your own town, and I will see you all later.